East. It's Keyshawn, J. Will Zubin, presented by Progressive Insurance. All of our guests this morning will join us on the Goodyear hotline, including Adam Schefter, who broke that story. He'll join us this morning at 7:45 a.m. Eastern, the Monday after the Sunday of the regular season concluding. There are generally a lot of coach firings, a lot of movement in the front office and on the sideline, and we'll dig into that with Adam coming up at 7:45 a.m. Eastern. Key, a lucky number 13. The Jets lose those 13 games in a row out of the gate. They finish with 2 wins. They've got the number 2 pick in the draft. Jacksonville will pick first. It's their first overall number 1 pick in the 27-28 year history of the franchise. I think we all know where the Jags are going. They once drafted a white kid with long blonde hair named Blaine Gabbert. Let's hope that the next white kid with the long blonde hair turns out a little bit better in Trevor Lawrence. But that leaves us at the Jets at number 2. They have a quarterback on the roster who you says has a lot of skill, just needs some talent around him. And now you're in a position where you can bring in a coach that can maybe get that talent to mesh, to get the most out of Sam, or maybe they decide to move on from Sam. Where do you stand?
You know, I go back and forth with this thing. Obviously, the beginning of the season, I was all in Sam, no matter what, Sam. And then as the season kind of came to an end, I'm like, well, you know, maybe he moves on. Then I come back to, you know, it all depends on what you want to do as a head coach. So many times in this league, your draft position will dictate the narrative about what people think you should be at a position. Because Sam was drafted so high, the first thing that comes to mind is he's got to throw the football and he's got to be this and he's got to be that. Well, if you get a coach in there like a Kevin Stefanski who understands that who Baker Mayfield is as a quarterback, and you have that guy now come to the New York Jets to understand what Sam is as a quarterback. Now, you're sitting at the number 2 spot. And I know, Trevor Lawrence, once in a lifetime. He's the greatest quarterback. He's a family guy, all of those things, right? You hear all of that. Tell me the last time a number 1 overall quarterback outside the Mannings won a Super Bowl? You got to go all the way back past the Manning brothers to maybe get to Troy Aikman.
Right.
And so when you start to look at it,
yeah,
if you bring in the right head coach to understand who you are, Zubin, as a player and what your strengths and weaknesses are, along with Joe Douglas, you may not have to move on from Sam. Because if you look at what they figured out in Cleveland with Baker Mayfield, we don't need 4 wides and shotgun formations 75% of the time to win football games. We need a running game, we need a defense, and we need our quarterback to be better than a manager. Can Sam do that? If I'm a confident offensive coordinator and brilliant mind, can I get him to do those sort of things? Or do I want to play 5 wides, 4 wides, throw the ball all over? You're not going to win in the National Football League doing that. What team outside of Kansas City, which still has a running game, as well as Green Bay that's balanced, as well as the New Orleans Saints that's balanced, as well as the Rams that's balanced, Seattle's balanced, Tampa Bay's balanced, is throwing the ball all over the lot. So you get a balanced situation going. You stick with that quarterback. You take that number 2 pick and you dangle it out there for some suckers to go get a quarterback that they think is the next. That's what you do.
Well, I would say this, Zubin. Joe Douglas, obviously you have enough time to make that evaluation on where you think Sam Darnold's future will be. But it's not a lock that Trevor Lawrence is going to the Jaguars. I mean, you could have a situation in which Ryan Day becomes the head coach for the Jags, and all of a sudden Justin Fields can end up becoming number 1 pick, and you have to be fluid. You have to adjust on the fly if the Jets end up having a chance to draft a guy like Trevor Lawrence. The one thing I will say is regarding to Sam's 5th-year option for 2022, right? He'll likely likely be more than $25 million. That seems highly unlikely that they will commit to give Darnold that, considering his inconsistent play. So the main question is, so with Darnold playing on that, the final year of his contract, if you were to bring him back, he could put the Jets on the hook for a big contract in 2022 if Darnold plays well, or losing him for nothing after that season because his trade value will be gone. So my thing is fluid, but there are guys out there like Justin Fields. There's guys out there like Zach Zach Wilson, who if you don't want to pay the money down the line for Sam Darnold, if you don't think he's the guy, then you obviously put a rookie quarterback in that situation with a rookie contract, and you go out and you get better assets to surround him to build towards the direction your head coach wants to go.
If you are worried about the money aspect of it, the guaranteed money kicks in if Sam Darnold's hurt on the fifth-year option. You don't have to address the fifth-year option until the springtime. All those guys, whether it's Josh Allen, whether it's Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield, any of those quarterbacks in that class that got drafted in the first round, fifth-year options come into play in the springtime. And Mike Tannenbaum will be on with us shortly at 6:30. We can certainly ask him about the fifth-year option. And then when you take a look at what that is for Sam, you say, okay, here's where Joe Douglas and the new head coach kind of gets in a little bit of a pickle. If you move on from Sam and Sam goes somewhere, I don't know, just throw a team out there, San Francisco.
Okay.
And he turns into Ryan Tannehill. Uh-oh. And then you draft Trevor Lawrence or Zach Wilson or Justin Fields or any quarterback that's floating around out there that you think you like. And he turns into Tim Couch. Now what? Now what do you so you've got to be sure as an organization, as a general manager and a new head coach on the same page that I like some of the things that I see. I'm not asking him to push the ball down the field 35 times again. I don't want him doing that. This is what I want him to do. This is what we're going to get him to do. Let's take that number 2 pick. Let's get several picks for that, and I think we can win with Sam. Because me personally, if I was in this position just right now, I think they can win with Sam with the right head coach in play. I think they can. You don't have to worry about pushing the ball down the field because you took him as a third pick in the draft. That's out the window.
We'll wait to see what happened again. The Jets are in the second spot, and as Key mentioned, our Mike Tannenbaum, who is a former general manager of the Jets, will be here to weigh in as well. Coming up, by the way, also at 9:10 a.m. Eastern. I know it's a long ways away, but since Jay mentioned the play of Justin Fields, you know, everybody was down on Fields after a couple of bad games, including the Big Ten title game. How much does the stock rise after one sensational game, right? Against the guy that everybody said had cleared the gap from him in Trevor Lawrence. We'll get the coaching perspective of Jim Mora coming up at 9:10. Again, on the way, what should the Jets do next with Darnold? We'll ask Tannenbaum. And what's the front office reaction to the, quote, integrity of the game argument last night between the Washington football team and Philly? All of that on the way after Jay has this from Dr. Pepper. Really? Surprise of nobody yet. This should be unbreaking news. I saw this on SportsCenter's breaking news last night. Unbreaking news. After a 9-23 record, the Jets have decided to move on from Adam Gase. Of course, now the question is, who's next? And what does that selection mean for Sam Darnold? We're going to get into that in just 1 second. SportsCenter is brought to you by DraftKings. Download the DraftKings app and use the code KJZ to get a free shot at millions of dollars up for grabs this week with your first deposit. Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details. And let's start with Gang Green with the ESPN NFL front office insider Mike Tannenbaum joining us on the Goodyear hotline, brought to you by Goodyear, helping you discover the road ahead. Goodyear, more driven. For those that don't know, Mike was once the GM of the Jets, and he joins us this morning. All right, Mike, so it's obvious it was just bound to happen. It did just hours after the regular season finale, a loss to the Patriots. Adam Gase is out. So who's in, and what will it mean for Sam Darnold?
Oh, I think this job is going to be defined by, again, 3 things: the quarterback, and the development of the quarterback. Adam Gase came in 2 years ago. They wanted to develop Sam Darnold. That has not worked out. Sam Darnold has 46 turnovers in his first 3 years. Sorry, Key. I know the USC reference is going to hurt, which is the 5th most of anybody in the league in terms of quarterbacks and turnovers. And when you look at the Jets and their future, it's going to be their head coach. And what are they going to do at the second pick? Is it Justin Fields of Ohio State, Zach Wilson of BYU, or do they stay with Sam Darnold and draft, let's say, Penei Sewell, the talented offensive tackle of Oregon? So first the head coach, then the quarterback. And if we're looking through it through the lens of the quarterback, I think 2 people really stand out. Arthur Smith, the offensive coordinator of Tennessee, and Brian Daboll, who used to work for the Jets,